beneath the veneer of automotive excellence lies a dark tale. A tale that brims with an unyielding intensity of success and tragedy, innovation and destruction. And in the shadows of their histories lies a sinister connection to Adolf Hitler himself. These iconic brands, revered and renowned, bear the weight of a haunting past, for they were forged upon the exploitation and suffering of hundreds of thousands in the cruel grip of Nazi labor camps. Their stories are so grueling, so deeply entrenched in the annals of human despair, that we must begin with a warning. Adolf Hitler, the leader of the German Nazis, was one of the most notorious and reviled figures in history. In the 1930s, he left an indelible mark on the automobile industry that still echoes today. Born and primarily raised in Linz, the state capital of Upper Austria, Hitler experienced a humble upbringing. His father was a retired state customs officer, and Hitler struggled in school, eventually dropping out. Rejecting the path of becoming a public servant like his father, he nurtured a passion for art, hoping to fulfill his dreams of becoming an artist. However, his aspirations were shattered when he faced rejection from the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. Undeterred by this setback, Hitler continued to pursue his interests, particularly in politics. His time in Munich during World War I played a pivotal role in shaping his ideologies and setting the stage for his future political ambitions. Hitler managed to enlist in a reserve infantry unit and displayed such bravery that he received 2 awards, which he proudly wore until the end of his life. By the year 1921, Hitler had risen to power within the expanding Nazi Party. Munich became a breeding ground for disenchanted former army officers who joined the Nazis, attracted by Hitler's charismatic leadership and the broad dissatisfaction with the Weimar Republic and the punitive terms of the Versailles Treaty. Although the Nazis never gained more than 37% of the vote, Hitler's relentless pursuit of power eventually led him to becoming the Chancellor of Germany in 1933 and seizing supreme authority. With his political desires fulfilled, Hitler sought to undertake an ambitious endeavor, a foray into the automobile industry. During the 1930s, German automakers primarily focused on producing luxury vehicles, leaving the majority of Germans without access to cars. Hitler recognized this gap and saw an opportunity to change the landscape. He envisioned a car that would be affordable and quick, one that could be sold for less than 1,000 Reichsmarks, a price equivalent to around $140 at the time. In addition, Hitler had grand plans for a network of autobahns, controlled access motorways that would span across Germany. To bring his vision to life, Hitler turned to Ferdinand Porsche, a renowned Austrian and German automotive expert. Hitler commissioned Porsche to design the people's car, which was intended to satisfy the desires of the general public for mobility and happiness. The idea was to establish a savings stamp program where people could contribute on a monthly basis towards owning a car. The vehicle had to accommodate 2 adults and 3 children, achieve a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, and be priced at 990 Reichsmarks, roughly equivalent to $5,000 or $6,000 in today's value. Just as the People's Car made its debut at the Berlin Motor Show in 1939, World War II broke out, bringing production to a halt. Germany's declaration of war in 1939 meant that only a limited number of these cars were ever created. Porsche shifted its focus to developing military vehicles, aligning with the goals of Nazi industrialization. During the war, Volkswagen faced significant challenges. The factory, originally designed for civilian vehicles, was ill-equipped to handle the demands of war production. Forced labor became a common practice at Volkswagen, with Soviet hostages, German employees, migrant workers, prisoners of war, and inmates of prison camps forming the bulk of the workforce. concentration camp prisoners and Eastern workers who had been forcibly exiled from their homes constituted a significant portion of the workforce. The conditions at Volkswagen were grueling and hazardous. Forced laborers, whether prisoners of war or civilian workers, endured harsh treatment and lacked adequate medical attention. Tragically, the fate of children born to these workers was particularly distressing. Nursery facilities were established under the guise of supporting the workers' well-being, but in reality, their purpose was to ensure that mothers could return to work promptly after giving birth. Mortality rates in these facilities were shockingly high, and it is estimated that 365 children perished. As the war drew to a close, Allied troops arrived at the bomb-damaged Volkswagen plant, and the remaining captives were set free. The factory's facilities were later utilized by the British to manufacture the Volkswagen Type 1 Beetle, known as the People's Car. This marked the end of Volkswagen's dark history and the beginning of its remarkable journey to become a major producer of cutting-edge vehicles for the general public. In 1960, Volkswagen was officially denationalized when the German government sold 60% of the company's equity to the general public. Over the years, Volkswagen surpassed all other automobile imports in terms of sales in Germany. The Volkswagen Beetle in particular made history, surpassing the renowned Model T as the highest produced automobile globally. But Volkswagen was not the only company involved with the Nazis. As Germany was being swept up in the frenzy of Hitler's ascent to power, a company called Auto Union emerged as one of the key players in the automotive industry. Little did the world know at the time that the Auto Union, the precursor to Audi, was about to embark on a sinister path, entangled with the horrors of Nazi Germany. A recent historical investigation commissioned by Audi has unearthed a disturbing truth. Auto Union, under the influence of the Nazi regime, exploited slave labor on a massive scale. Thousands of concentration camp inmates were forced into back-breaking work for the company, laying the foundation for its future success. The revelations are chilling. 7 labor camps, established by the Nazi SS divisions, became sites of unimaginable suffering. Over 3,700 prisoners were subjected to forced labor for Auto Union, while an additional 16,500 individuals were coerced into working at factories in Zwickau and Chemnitz. Another 18,000 laborers toiled in an underground plant in Bavaria, where the death toll was alarming. Auto Union's management, led by figures such as Richard Brune, bears the moral responsibility for the inhumane conditions and the exploitation of forced laborers. Brune, a Nazi Party member and chairman of the board at Auto Union during World War II, negotiated the merger of 4 German car brands, including Audi. His hands were stained with the blood, sweat, and tears of those who suffered under the company's callous regime. The findings of the investigation leave no room for doubt. Auto Union was deeply entangled with the National Socialist regime, with Brune orchestrating the use of forced laborers. The concentration camp prisoners, deprived of their freedom and dignity, were forced to contribute to the war effort. One particularly grim chapter in Auto Union's history involved a subcamp at Flossenburg concentration camp. Here, prisoners were exploited as forced laborers working on the construction of tank engines. The moral responsibility for the deaths of 4,500 workers at Flossenburg lies squarely on the shoulders of Auto Union and its leadership. In the aftermath of World War II, Auto Union was liquidated, and Brune was subjected to denazification by British forces. Although he accepted responsibility for employing prisoners of war, he managed to conceal the full extent of his collaboration with the Nazi Party until his death in 1964. his legacy, once celebrated as the father of the auto union, has now been marred by the dark truth of his involvement in forced labor. Now let's talk about BMW, a name synonymous with luxury and performance. During the 1930s, Germany was in the grip of change, and Hitler's rise to power set the stage for a twisted collaboration. It was during this time that the industrialist Herbert Quandt entered the picture, reshaping the future of BMW and leaving an indelible mark on its history. As Hitler's influence grew, so did the demand for German-made automobiles. Herbert Quandt, a member of the Nazi Party, recognized the economic potential and seized the opportunity. He played a pivotal role in saving BMW from bankruptcy in the 1960s, becoming its largest shareholder and initiating a transformation that would propel the brand to new heights. However, the history of BMW is marred by a darker reality. During the reign of the Third Reich, the company under Quandt's leadership exploited forced labor on an alarming scale. Tens of thousands of individuals, including prisoners of war and concentration camp inmates, were subjected to unspeakable hardships in BMW factories. These laborers, stripped of their basic rights and humanity, toiled under grueling conditions, manufacturing weaponry and other war-related materials. The story of Mercedes-Benz, another stalwart of the German automotive industry, unfolds with a similar mix of triumph and tragedy. The roots of this prestigious brand can be traced back to the late 19th century when Karl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler pioneered the early days of automobile innovation. Fast forward to the turbulent years leading up to World War II, and Mercedes-Benz found itself entangled in the web of Nazi influence. The company, under the control of Friedrich Flick, a convicted war criminal, embraced the sinister undercurrents of the era. Flick's conglomerate, which included Mercedes-Benz, utilized forced and slave labor extensively, exploiting the suffering of countless individuals for the benefit of the Nazi war machine. Within the confines of the Nazi labor camps, the dark side of automotive production came to the forefront. These facilities became veritable prisons, where innocent souls were subjected to back-breaking work, abuse, and unimaginable atrocities. The laborers, stripped of their identities and treated as mere commodities, played a pivotal but unsung role in the growth and success of BMW and Mercedes-Benz. The legacy of BMW and Mercedes-Benz is a stark reminder of the haunting realities that lie beneath the gleaming exteriors of luxury automobiles. It challenges us to confront the uncomfortable truths of the past, reminding us that even the most revered brands have shadows lurking in their history. Beyond the involvement of German automakers with Hitler, there are other significant points worth exploring in their history during the Nazi era. These automakers played a pivotal role in supporting the German military during World War II. Companies like BMW and Daimler-Benz shifted their production lines to manufacture vehicles and equipment essential for the war effort. They produced tanks, armored vehicles, aircraft engines, and other war-related machinery. These contributions were significant in supplying the German armed forces and reflected the close collaboration between the automotive industry and the Nazi regime. In their pursuit of military superiority, they made notable advancements in various fields. BMW, for example, developed jet engines that propelled the famous Messerschmitt May 262, one of the world's first operational jet-powered fighter aircraft. The experience gained during this era later contributed to advancements in automotive technology after the war. Also, Hitler and the Nazi regime recognized the symbolic power of automobiles as representations of progress and national identity. German automakers, including Volkswagen and Mercedes-Benz, were actively involved in propagating the regime's ideologies through their vehicles. The sleek and luxurious designs were showcased as symbols of German engineering excellence and superior craftsmanship, reinforcing the image of Nazi power and ideology, both domestically and internationally. The defeat of Germany in World War II marked a turning point for German automakers. In the aftermath of the war, the companies underwent denazification processes aimed at removing Nazi influence and ensuring their accountability. Some individuals within the industry faced prosecution for war crimes and the exploitation of forced labor. This period of reckoning forced German automakers to confront their involvement with the Nazi regime and embark on a path of rebuilding their reputation and fostering a more responsible corporate culture. The history of German automakers' involvement with Hitler serves as a stark reminder of the complex intersections between industry, politics, and morality. It highlights the importance of corporate responsibility and ethical decision-making, even in challenging circumstances. Today, these companies bear the responsibility of acknowledging their past and actively engaging in efforts to educate the public about this history. They must also contribute to initiatives promoting human rights, social justice, and remembrance to ensure that the lessons learned from the past inform a more ethical and responsible future. If you enjoyed this story, buckle up and stay tuned for more fascinating tales about your favorite car brands. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for a joyride through the world of automotive history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.